He was trained to heal the body, but he was called to heal a nation. Before the crowds, before the glory dome, before his voice echoed through millions of televisions and churches, Dr. Pastor Paul Enenche lived a life so unusual, so divinely interrupted, that many still struggle to believe it. This is not just the story of a man. It's the journey of fire, faith, sacrifice, and a decision that defied all odds. What makes a man walk away from a prestigious career in medicine to preach to a congregation of zero? What power did he encounter that was so strong it made him abandon the scalpel for the scriptures? You're about to discover the untold origin of one of Nigeria's most fiery and fearless pastors. Stay with us, because by the end of this story, you won't just understand Paul Enenche. You might start questioning your own purpose. Paul Idoko Enenche was born on June 4, 1968, in the quiet and humble town of Orokam in Benue State, Nigeria. Raised in a deeply religious Christian home, his spiritual environment was shaped early by discipline, devotion, and a powerful sense of destiny. His mother, in particular, was known for her intense prayer life, something young Paul would quietly observe. Little did he know, those prayer sessions would one day define the course of his entire existence. Growing up, he wasn't the loudest child, nor the most rebellious. He was the observer, the thinker, the one who would later command stadiums not with noise, but with an unshakable conviction. His early life was marked by education and hunger for knowledge. He was drawn to books, science, and above all, medicine. The desire to heal, to mend, to restore. These weren't just interests. They were internal callings. And so, he pursued medicine with the tenacity of a man chasing purpose. He gained admission into the University of Jos and graduated with a Bachelor of Medicine, Bachelor of Surgery, MBBS. For many Nigerians, this alone would be the pinnacle of success. A doctor, a respected member of society, a path paved with honor and comfort. But not for Paul. Not even close. Because as his medical career began to take shape, so did something else, an unrelenting whisper in his soul, one that no stethoscope could silence. As a young doctor, he was well respected. Patients trusted him. Colleagues admired him. His future in medicine looked blindingly bright. But late at night, after his rounds were done and the hospital corridors fell silent, he would retreat to a quiet space and weep, not because of sorrow, but because of the overwhelming burden he couldn't explain. A call, a fire, a divine disturbance. He wasn't the first in his family to hear the call to ministry. But Paul was different. His calling wasn't polite. It was urgent, demanding, and all-consuming. He tried to ignore it. He tried to reason with it. How could he leave a medical profession his parents were proud of? How could he explain to his colleagues that God had other plans? But when God wants your attention, he gets it. In the mid-90s, something dramatic happened. After months of internal struggle, Paul Enenche made a decision that would change his life and the spiritual climate of Nigeria forever. He embarked on a 5-day fast. No food, no water, just prayer. Desperate, raw, unfiltered communion with God. What he received in that encounter was not just clarity, but a divine assignment to leave medicine and begin full-time ministry. Pause for a second and imagine what that decision meant. In a country where doctors are revered, where economic stability is a rare privilege, Paul walked away. Not to another career, not to politics, but to preach. With no church, no members, no building. Just a vision, just faith, just fire. He wasn't alone. His wife, Dr. Becky Enenche, also a qualified medical doctor, chose to follow this mysterious call. Together, they left the hospital wards and stepped into the wilderness of ministry. They were mocked, ridiculed, questioned. But Paul remained unfazed. Because he knew what he had heard. He knew what he had seen. And he would never unsee it. In November 1996, Dunamis International Gospel Center was born. Not in a mega auditorium. Not in a 5-star hotel. But in the small corner of Abuja's Area 1, inside a humble little room. That first service? Just a handful of people. But in that room, the heavens shook. because a man had obeyed. And when obedience meets divine timing, miracles are inevitable. Paul Enenche didn't just preach sermons, he declared war. War against spiritual lukewarmness. War against poverty. War against immorality. Every message was a battle cry. Every service, an altar of fire. He brought something different, something raw, something that jolted sleepy Christians back to life. His voice, unmistakable. His style, fiery. His theology, simple but unrelenting. Holiness or nothing. Fire or fade. And people came, by the dozens, then by the hundreds, then by the thousands. And as they came, something strange happened. Miracles, real ones, documented ones. The lame walked, tumors disappeared, women with blocked wombs conceived, and slowly skeptics started listening. The city of Abuja was no longer big enough. Dunamis needed a home, a real one, not just a church, but a cathedral of glory. And so came the vision for the Glory Dome, a 100,000-seat capacity auditorium, the largest church building in Africa. A monument not just of faith, but of raw, unapologetic belief in the impossible. But it didn't come without warfare. The critics accused him of chasing clout, of building an empire, not a church. Where was all the money coming from? Was this really God, or just another Nigerian prosperity preacher? But Paul Enenche was unmoved. He didn't argue. He didn't clap back. He kept building. By 2018, the Glory Dome opened. And when it did, it sent a message across the African continent. The age of small dreams was over. Paul Enenche had officially arrived. But beneath the thunderous sermons and jaw-dropping miracles, there was still the man. The doctor who walked away. The boy from Benue who said yes to the call. The firebrand who gave up comfort for the cross. Now here's where it gets interesting. Because everything you've heard so far, it's just the beginning. You've seen the man become a preacher, but you haven't seen the controversies that followed. The headlines, the viral clips, the doctrine that shook congregations. And one message, one sermon, that turned his followers into fanatics and his critics into enemies. So here's the real question. Is Dr. Paul Enenche just a man of God, or a man on a mission the world is still not ready for? Tell us in the comments. Do you think leaving medicine was a divine call or a dramatic decision? Would you ever give up your career if you believed God was calling you to something radical? And don't miss part 2, where we go deep into the fire, his miracles, controversies, critics, and the powerful spiritual warfare behind the pulpit. Because what's coming next might just change everything you think you know about Africa's most intense preacher. Subscribe now, hit the bell, and share this story with someone searching for purpose. The fire has only just begun. End of part 1. Stay tuned for part 2. Inside the ministry of Paul Enenche, miracles, power, and controversies.